Alright, welcome. Today I'm going to be telling you how to keep possession and why open space is so important and what the difference between open space and empty space is. So, let's put you on the field right here, okay? Why is the fill? That's the one. Whatever. So, let's say you're this car and you're facing this direction, you're facing forward. And the ball is right here. Let me grab the ball, please. Thank you. Okay. And we'll say this is the arena and you're going down. So the net's on this side and the other net's on this side. Okay. If you're driving behind the ball and you're just pushing it, for example, like you're driving behind and you're just pushing it down, right? It's not on top of your car, it's just in front of your car. You're just pushing it. You don't have possession, okay? Possession needs for you to have multiple quality options that can be executed upon. So in this position, you don't have multiple options that you can execute upon. You don't have multiple quality options. You're not going to be able to outplay anyone that challenges you. If the opponent is right here, right, and they're just driving towards the ball, can you outplay them from this position? No, because you can't change the direction of the ball. You don't have any outplay options. You don't have any quality options. You have one option, or you have one option, and that's a 50. And you can choose how you mix up the 50. That doesn't matter. Okay, your only option is to 50. But let's say, and here I'll explain some empty space now. So in this pitch, guys driving towards the ball, you have the ball here. Empty space is all of this. Oh, empty space is not here. Actually, yeah, empty space. Empty space is all right here. Empty space is all right here. Okay. Empty space. Empty space is also right here. Right here. Although this is probably more open. So empty space is where nobody else is. Okay. Empty space is where you would hit the ball if you're trying to buy time for your team, right? Because if you hit the ball here, you're not going to be able to get to the ball again before the opponent. If you hit the ball here, you're just giving away possession to the opponent from this position. If the opponent was closer, then maybe this is open space, but it's empty space for now because of where the opponent is positioned. The opponent is going to be able to get to this ball before you do, okay? But it will buy your team time to get boost and reset, and get in the right position again, and what have you, okay? That's why this is empty space, okay? It's not open space. You should not take the ball here unless you do not have any other choice, okay? If you do not have another choice and you can't keep possession because it's a bad position, then you hit it to open space, okay? And I'll explain that later. But for now, all you need to know is this is empty space. This is empty space. If you hit the ball here right now in this position, you're just giving away possession, but it's going to buy you or your team time to reset. Okay. Now, open space. Open space is where you can hit the ball and get to first and make a play. Okay? It's where you can hit the ball to and keep possession. Open space in 2v2 or 3v3 is most likely going to be with your teammates. I would think probably 70% of the time it's going to be with your teammates. So if you have a teammate, actually I'll just explain it. I'll just explain it here first. So open space here, open space is in this position. There is not any open space because this opponent, he's driving towards the play in this position. No matter where you hit it, he's going to be able to hit the ball too. Okay, so you're not going to be able to outplay him from this position. But if he was way closer, let's say he was like here, and I'll just pretend that you have quality options of the ball here. Like maybe you're dribbling it or something. I just don't want to cover up the box. But let's say you can flick it. Okay, you're dribbling the ball. You can flick it left. You can flick it right. You can flick it forward. You can 50 it. Okay. Then you have possession because you have multiple quality options that you can do. That you can actually do. And in this position, because the opponent is so pushed up, open space is going to be behind him. Right. Your momentum is going this way. Your momentum is going this way. His momentum is going this way. So if you pop the ball over him, you're already back to this ball, and he has to make a big U-turn to get back to it. Okay, so open space in this position is going to be right here. Open space in this position is also probably going to be over here. It's also probably going to be over here because you have forward momentum, and you're going to be going towards the ball that you hit. Okay, that's something very important to know. Open space is where you can hit the ball and keep possession. And possession is multiple quality options that can be executed upon. Okay. I'm messing up all the colors here. Okay. Okay. Now, let's say that you have a teammate. The same rules still apply, okay? The same rules, it's the exact same rules, okay? In this position, your teammate has a bunch of open space right here, right? That he can make a play in. He has a bunch of open space on this left side too. He has a lot of open space here. He has so many things he can do with the ball if he's given the ball in this position, right? If you're able to hit the ball here, he can do anything he wants with the ball. Okay, he has so much open space. So a lot of time, if you want to keep possession in twos or threes, it's just going to be given to your teammate. Okay, but it's important to know that you can't just always hit it to your teammate. For example, like if the other opponent is here, let's say he's here, okay? Does this teammate now have open space? No, because if you hit this ball to him, what can he do to make a play? Okay, this guy. Oh, I made a box. This guy is already on his ass. Okay, so if you hit this ball over, this guy's already gonna be able to intercept that ball. Okay, this guy is already gonna be able to 50 the ball or hit the ball or challenge the ball. Okay, this teammate no longer has open space. But if the opponent's back here, for example, your teammate has open space. Right? Your teammate has open space right in front of them. This teammate no longer has open space over here because this guy's gonna cut it down, and this teammate no longer has open space here right now because this guy can cut it down, and this guy can cut it down too. But there is some open space right in front of him. So you could pass it to your teammate in this position. And I would say, in this position, depending on who has more boost, should be the one taking the ball. Because with boost, you're able to get two more open space. Because open space isn't just horizontal and vertical, right? Or horizontal, yeah. Well, it's not just on the X and Y axis, okay? It's also on the Z axis. It's also up and down. And if you have boost, then you're able to go up into the air and access that vertical space. That's why I said like we flick over the top of him. That's because the open space, he's not covering above him, right? He's not going to be able to get up in time to hit that ball. So there's open space above him. Not in this position, right? But if this opponent was pushed up here, there's open space above him, right? In this position, if he's this close, there's probably also open space if you flick it to the left or if you flick it to the right. But easiest would, well, in this position, you wouldn't want to flick it to the left because there's another opponent going to be able to challenge you. And if this guy's like closer, like here, for example, the left side of the pitch is completely covered. You should never take this to the left side. Your teammate's here, but your teammate's covered. Okay? This guy's covering your teammate. You're not going to be able to keep possession if you hit it to the left here. But if you hit it forward, it's probably going to be open net, right? Because it's going to be right over his head. You could also probably take it to the left wall here because he's so pushed up. Okay, now that's where open space is. Okay, now you understand where open space is, but not all the time do you have open space. For example, imagine this position right here. Okay, where's the open space? Actually, I'll move this guy like here. Where's the open space? It's not here. If you hit the ball here, this is empty space right here. This is empty space back here, right? This is lost space even. If you hit the ball here, this guy is just going to be able to get to that ball and get possession. Okay, so you're handing away the ball if you try to hit it. If you try to hit it over here, if you take it to the right side, he's also going to challenge you. If you take it to the left side, this guy's going to challenge. If you hit it in the air, this guy's far enough back that he can still challenge you, and you can still cover that vertical space. Like if you flag it, he's just gonna get it. Okay. And you're not gonna be able to cut this ball and take it back in time before this guy's already on your butt. I mean, maybe you can if you're perfect. So maybe you could argue there's open space in your back corner. Okay. But you're not trying to go to your back corner the whole time, right? You're trying to score. And that's where you create open space. Creating open space, in principle, is not difficult to understand, but executing it is very difficult. Okay, so in this position, what you need to do, how you create open space, is you make your opponent commit to covering one thing, so that opens up open space somewhere else. So, for example, if you're dribbling the ball, you could just dribble it towards him. You could just dribble it towards him until it's close enough that you now have open space, because now this opponent is covering where you're going, right? He's covering where the ball is headed to, but you've now created open space to the right here, and probably to the left as well if this guy's still pushed up, and above him if you've come this close to him, right? You've made him commit to covering close. Now, other things is like, okay, now imagine this guy is actually going this way. Okay, imagine he's just shadowing you. Okay. Now where's the open space? Well, you probably do have open space immediately in front of you. Okay, and that's it. If you hit a left, you're gonna win possession. If you hit a right, you're gonna win possession. If you hit forward, you're gonna win possession. Okay. If he's shadowing correctly, nothing you do, how you hit it, it's just not going to go over. Now, obviously, if you shadow it incorrectly, for example, if he has low momentum, he's not matching your speed, or he's super close to the ball, then open space might just be in his net. Okay. But if he's shadowing correctly, there is no open space here for you. Especially if this guy's like here, if you try to cut it, this guy's going to be on your eyes. If you try to cut it back. So, what do? How do you take advantage of the little open space you have in front of you and actually create open space? Well, you have to make him commit on something, okay? So, you can do this so many different ways. I've given you very simple things so far. I'll try to give you something simple here, but keep in mind, creating open space is what pros do extremely well. That's why you can never like hit the ball off like SSLs. Like if a champ plays an SSL, is that champ ever going to be able to hit the ball? Like even if he's shadowing, even if he's doing the same thing here as this guy, if this is the SSL, this champ is never going to get to touch the ball, and that's because this opponent is creating open space and going to open space very well. So what you could do in this position is you could cut the ball. You could cut to the left, make this guy turn to the left to cover you, and then go to the right wall. Right? If he's now having to turn and cover here because you were threatening to do that, and you cut it back the other way, this is now open space for you. So if you cut it left, so this guy goes left, and then you cut it back right, you can just go up the wall. Right? Something else you could do is fake a flick. You could jump with the ball, and if he doesn't jump, then you could actually flick it, because now he's not covering high. Well, it depends on the situation, but that is something that you could do, is fake a flick, where you jump and then you don't actually flick, and you take it back down to the ground and like hit it around him. Something else you could do is you could jump into the air. This guy, because he's shadowing, he's not covering this little open space in front, right? And that little space in front is also vertical. So you could go into the air if you wanted to. And if you go into the air, it's going to be easier to create open space if you're good with aerial mechanics, because now your opponent has to cover the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z, and well, on the ground, your opponent is still having to cover above them, right? But if you're now in the air, they have to cover all of that and below them. So there's a whole nother dimension that you're adding if you go into the air. So, to recap, to keep possession being multiple quality options that you can actually take advantage of, that you can actually execute upon, you need to hit the ball into open space. Open space is where you or your teammates can get to the ball and keep possession. Okay? Open space in this position is going to be in front. Okay? And that's it. You have no other open space. We have a lost space over here, you have empty space over here. Now, if this opponent was back here, you now have open space here. Okay, you have open space right in front of you, and you have open space over here. Your teammate has open space over here. Okay? You also have open space in your back corner in this position. What the fuck? You also have open space back here. Because if you're good enough, you can get the ball and take it back. And you're gonna have possession in your back corner. Obviously, I'm not telling you to always take it to your back corner in this position. Okay? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying that's where open space is. That's where you could go and still keep possession. Okay? Sometimes you're going to need to create open space. For example, in this position, you only have open space in front of you. And if you just keep taking up the space, this guy is eventually just going to drive into you and take the ball off you. Okay? So you're going to need to create open space. Whether that's making this guy get really close and then hit it over him, making this guy get close and hit it around him. Like, you just need to make your opponent commit to one thing so you can take advantage of another thing. Also, and this is important, a lot of players will mess this up. Possession does not mean drive slow. Okay? Driving slow may give you some quality options. Okay? It may give you multiple quality options. If you're dribbling the ball's on top of your car, and you're dribbling really slowly, you can now threaten a bunch of different kinds of flicks. Right? But none of your flicks are going to have enough power. So if you're driving slow, you can do a bunch of flicks, sure. But if your opponent just drives into you, they don't need to flip or jump or anything. They can just drive into you and demo you. They can just drive into you and dispossess you. Okay? So in this position, all you're threatening, if you're driving super slow, is like a back foot flick, right? Or maybe like a slow front foot flick, or a slow side foot flick. Okay. You're not threatening anything like this guy's gonna have to worry about. Because if you're driving slow and you flick the ball slowly, and this opponent's here, you didn't capitalize on anything. This guy is still gonna be in the same exact position. He's still gonna be able to hit the ball if you hit it like nowhere. Okay, the only time that flick is gonna work is if he's just barreling in and like jumps and flips at you, and then you flick it over the top of him, and then he's way over here out of the play, and then you have an open net. Okay, and a lot of players will do this, especially when they're trying to keep possession, is they will slow down a shit ton. Like, let's ignore these guys for now. Just get rid of them. Okay, and that's about these. Now it's about these two players right here. Okay, if this guy is driving down with the ball on top of his car, and this guy is shadowing. Okay, he's shadowing good as well, so there's no open space. There's no open space here. There's no open space here. There's no open space here. Okay, there's no open space over here. You might be able to get open space if you're able to cut it and take it up the sidewall here. You might have open space if you're able to cut it and take it up the sidewall here. You probably do have open space in your back corners. Okay, so you're going to need to create open space. If you're driving with the ball, you're going to need to have multiple options that you can actually be executing. If you're just driving and you drop the ball in front of your car. So, for example, ball is no longer on top of your car, it's actually just in front. Okay? You no longer have real possession here. You have neutral possession. Neutral possession is where you're technically on the ball, but you have no options. Okay? So your opponent doesn't even get a challenge to its position, right? If you go wide to try to put it on target, your opponent's just gonna jump to the ball. Okay. So your opponent doesn't even challenge you in this position because of how fucked you are, because of how bad this position is. Okay. So you need to make sure you actually have options you can execute on. It's also the same thing if like you're threatening a hook shot, for example, your opponent is in net, and you're threatening a hook shot, but you're slowing down. Like you're trying to threaten a hook shot, but you keep slowing down until you're super slow. And if you boost into the ball, it's gonna go like 2 feet. It's just gonna be a little wimp touch. You don't have possession, okay? Because you're not threatening anything. Like if you have momentum, for example, this, and you're driving really fast towards the ball, you have possession, okay? You have possession if you're driving fast towards the ball in this position because you have multiple options. Okay, you can bang this ball. You can catch this ball and take it to a corner. You can catch this ball and flick it. You can take this ball into the air. You can go for a double tap. You can cut it and go for a shot. You have possession because you have multiple quality options. But as soon as you slow down and you're just like driving behind the ball, you do not have possession. If you're driving behind the ball at a decent pace, for example, then you also have real possession as long as you're able to threaten hitting the ball hard. Okay, if you're driving behind the ball with some pace, like you're moving the ball around, it's like you're bounce dribbling, balls going around the pitch, you're bounce dribbling all around. You have possession because you can threaten that shot anytime. You can threaten to catch it and flick. You can threaten to double tap. Okay, these are all real options you can execute on. If you're driving super slow, what are you now threatening? You're threatening, oh, I hit the ball at 2 feet, this direction. I hit the ball super slow this direction. You do not have possession. It's the same thing with you driving slow with the ball on top of your car. As long as this guy doesn't come in and fly past the play, and you just hit it around him and score, it's not a good position because he doesn't need to do that. A smart player is just gonna drive into the ball, right? He's just gonna drive into it, and he's not gonna like full commit. So like even if you hit it around him like 2 feet, he's gonna be able to turn and challenge it again anyway because you're driving so slow. So driving super slow is not gonna give you as many quality options. Obviously, sometimes if you're driving slow, you're gonna have possession. there are gonna be some positions where you're gonna have possession by driving slow. Okay, you're gonna have multiple quality options by driving slow, but for the vast majority of cases, you're gonna need some momentum. I'm not telling you to go supersonic speed with the ball, okay? Because at supersonic speed, you're also not throwing in as many options. Like if you're just driving behind the ball at supersonic speed, you're not throwing any options. It's the same thing as driving slow. You can only take the ball in one direction. Okay, but if you're supersonic bounce dribbling or supersonic cutting the ball and shit, then you definitely have possession because you're able to threaten multiple options. Okay, we understand the comprendo. If you want to keep possession, open space is how you do it. And the reason for keeping possession the entire time is because you're gonna have an inherent advantage when you have possession. Okay? If you have possession, if you have control of this ball, you're dribbling this ball down the pitch. You choose what happens. Okay? Your opponent can choose when they challenge or how they challenge. Okay? But it doesn't matter because you are able to control the ball and manipulate the ball first. If your opponent challenges you, you're always going to be able to hit around him. Okay? If your opponent doesn't challenge you, you're always going to be able to create open space as long as you actually have possession. You will always have the advantage. Even if your opponent challenges you and you don't have time to make an outplay and you just 50 the ball, you're going to have an advantage on that 50 because your opponent is having to cover multiple options when they challenge you. They're probably going to jump a little bit higher so they can try to cover the flick as well. Right? So you're going to have the advantage on the 50 as well. With possession, you're going to have an inherent advantage. But you also need to keep in mind that possession is fragile. Okay? Because if you fuck up, although you have the advantage, if you fuck up, it's going to go really wrong for you. Okay? You have the advantage whenever you make the play you want to make. More times than not, it's gonna work. But as soon as you fuck up and don't do what you want, you mess up your mechanic, you mess up the flick, the opponent just dunks you. And you don't have control over where the dunk goes. Which is why it's fragile. And you're probably gonna get shit on a bunch if you try to incorporate possession. Especially if you're not a mechanical player to start with. Obviously, you don't need a lot of mechanics to execute keeping possession, but you do need enough mechanics to threaten those multiple options. If you do not have a flick in your arsenal, you drastically reduce the amount of open space that you actually have. Right? You're not going to be able to take it into that vertical open space. Well, as easily. If you don't have a hook shot, you dramatically decrease your possession game. You're not able to actually execute on that. It's not a real option. You don't have real possession. So it's fragile, and there are certain ways in that doc that I will link below in the description that you can. There's certain methods that you can that I would advise that you start out with, and just trying to implement those and focusing only on those while you learn. So because the more you do this, the more you're gonna realize where open space is. But you need to actually like make a play, right? If you're just driving around, you're trying to keep possession, but you just drive behind the ball. You have neutral possession. You don't have real possession, right? So you actually need to focus on specific things at first, like flicking over the opponents, or cutting around the opponents, or popping the ball into air dribbles. you need to focus on specific methods, and that will eventually bring your understanding of open space and keeping possession to a much higher level, and then you're going to be able to start incorporating and start becoming really deadly. As soon as you start getting one or two methods down, your rank and skill is going to massively go up. But you need to learn these things first, because if you just try to learn them all at once, it's going to be overwhelming. You're going to get shit on. You're going to get dunked a fuck ton, and it's gonna be much harder for you to actually realize where the open space is if you're just fucking up all your mechanics and you're not making the decisions fast. Because a big problem people have with incorporating this is they will lose their mind. they will slow down their decision making immensely because they're trying to find that open space. They're trying to play possession. They're not trying to just make a play to make a play, which is good, which is very good. But the problem is they're thinking too much about it. And when you think too much about your possession and what option to make, it's no longer muscle memory of, oh, this guy's turning, and you flick it right now. You don't have that immediate. You have this slowdown of, this opponent is turning. Should I flick it? Should I low 50? Should I take it to the left? Should I take it to the right? And then he dunks you. So you need specifically, okay, I'm just going to 50 in this position. I'm just going to 50 this guy. That's all I'm going to do. So when he turns, you're like, okay, I 50. You need to do this. So you can actually, in the future, in that same position, it'll become muscle memory of, oh shit, I can just flick it around. So I'm just going to flick it around because he's turning. Okay? But don't try to just incorporate everything at first. You need certain methods. Okay, you need to incorporate certain methods like only 50, only flicking, only cutting when you're learning this, when you're first starting out. Okay. There's one more thing that I wanted to mention. I think that's enough for this introduction into the fundamentals of keeping possession. I think that's enough. This is very very useful. Okay, it's very useful to keep possession. If you always have possession, and you're playing an SSL player, and the SSL player never touches the ball, you can always hit the ball around him. You can always keep possession. Every single outplay, you're creating open space. He's shadowing, you're able to cut it and take it around him. And you're always able to keep possession. The opponent is never able to touch the ball. Who's going to win? You are the SSL. You. Okay? It doesn't matter how good your opponent is if they can never hit the ball. If they can never hit the ball, who gives a shit if they're Zen? Who gives a shit if they're Growly? Who gives a shit if they're Rawaz? Who gives a shit? Right? It doesn't matter if they can't hit the ball. And that's the concept behind possession, okay? If you execute possession, you are in control of the game. It no longer becomes back and forth of who makes the first mistake. If you bang the ball and this guy misses, then you score. It no longer comes down to that. It no longer comes down to, I'm just gonna musty because I want to musty, and then and hopefully he doesn't challenge me. It doesn't expect that I'm gonna get strong power on this musty. It doesn't matter. Okay? You're not worrying about any of that. You're not worrying about just keeping possession. You're not worrying about, in this position, a musty's gonna work because he's so far back. And if he doesn't jump, and if he jumps for the musty, then you don't even need to do a musty. You could go low and go around him, right? That's what open space is all about. Okay, never hit the ball into your opponent. Always keep possession. Now I will. In the beginning, I mentioned something about empty space and booming it when you can't keep possession, and I explain that in the next video. Okay, I think this is enough for now to specifically focus on. Possession is key. It's the most important thing in this game.